Hello, welcome to my channel! The old house had been abandoned for decades, its paint peeling away to reveal rotting wood beneath. The roof caved inwards, choked by weeds, growing through cracks in the shingles. Locals said if you walked around the house barefoot, the grass would instantly grow cold and clammy, like touching death itself. But these were just children's tales, or so everyone thought, until one stormy night, when the wind shrieked through the skeletal branches of gnarled trees, the rain striking the broken window panes like icy fingers drumming against the glass. In the distance, lightning flashed, momentarily illuminating the ramshackle structure. The light guttered and flickered on a young man's determined face. He clutched a camera close, his flashlight bobbing in front of him, casting dancing shadows on the moldy wallpaper. His name was Alex, and he was about to enter the cursed house. Alex wasn't afraid of much. He scoffed at ghost stories, finding comfort in logic and reason. If there were such things as ghosts, why didn't they show up on his camera? Every photograph he'd taken so far was of empty rooms filled with dust motes, dancing in the pale beams of sunlight, slanting through gaps in the boarded-up windows. He found no spirits haunting the attic, no specters in the parlor, and he'd spent hours combing through the house, even venturing into the basement, ignoring the dripping water and the feeling of being watched. Now, standing in the suffocating darkness of what must have once been a bedroom, Alex laughed at the creaking wood beneath his feet. The shadows stretched and writhed on the wall like anguished figures trying to claw their way free. He inched forward, pushing aside cobwebs thick enough to choke a man. There was something here, some presence, but it wasn't supernatural. Then he saw them. Nailed to the wall were photographs, each bearing the face of a stranger, a mother holding a child, a young couple embracing a stern-faced businessman. Alex frowned. It was unsettling to see them so close, as if the people in the pictures were trying to claw their way out of the frames and into his reality. He shone his flashlight on their faces, noticing something ghastly. The eyes of every person in the pictures were scratched out, leaving empty sockets, staring sightlessly ahead. One picture, though, was different. In it, a young man posed with a wide grin, holding up a camera. Alex felt a chill crawl up his spine. The boy in the picture looked familiar, as if he might be smiling back at Alex from across the abyss of time. Hesitantly, he reached out to touch the frame, and as he did, the picture fell to the floor, fluttering to the ground like a dying bird. And then Alex saw it on the back of the photo. He saw himself grinning back at him, his eyes mocking and challenging. Below the picture, scrunched in the corner, was a small notebook, its pages brittle and yellowed. The ink faded and smeared in places. As Alex blew away the dust, he saw that it was filled with writing in a spidery hand. He read, "I am documenting my descent into madness. The house is alive. It feeds on my fear. I can feel its eyes boring into me, watching my every move. I hear scratching in the walls at night, the sound of dragging chains in the basement. I'm losing my mind, but I have to stay. I must find the source of this evil." Alex shuddered. The handwriting seemed to writhe and twist before his eyes like living things. Was this the story of the house's previous victim? He flipped through the pages, finding more disturbing drawings of gaping maws, filled with gnashing teeth and scuttling things that lurked in the darkness. Finally, he came across the last entry. "Today I found the heart of the beast. It is an ancient evil, a malevolent spirit that has taken root in this house. I have laid a trap. Tomorrow I will make my stand. God help me!" Then the writing abruptly ended. Alex closed the book, suddenly uneasy. He felt watched. Had the spirit manifested itself in the darkness behind him? He whirled around, his flashlight beam slicing through the gloom. But he saw nothing except for the endless rows of pictures on the wall, their vacant eye sockets seeming to burn into him. He wanted to leave, to get away from the oppressive atmosphere of the house, but he couldn't bring himself to turn away from the wall, as if frozen by some unseen force. Panic constricted his throat, stealing his breath. His legs felt heavy as lead, anchoring him to the spot. Then he heard it. Footsteps! Heavy, deliberate footsteps echoing through the silent house. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Drawing closer, getting louder, Alex froze, his heart pounding in his chest, his blood turning to ice water. A whisper crawled into his ear, slithering over his skin like a spider crawling across his flesh. "Alex?" it hissed, the voice raspy and hollow, as though coming from beyond the grave. Fear turned Alex's blood to ice, his breath hitching in his throat. He spun around, desperate to flee, but every direction seemed the same. A labyrinth of shifting shadows and darkness. The footsteps drew nearer, accompanied by a relentless scratching, like claws scraping against the floorboards. The whispering grew louder, echoing around him, enveloping him in a suffocating darkness. "Alex," the voice crooned, closer now, and it seemed to know his name. Terror lent speed to his movements. He fled down a dark hallway, his foot connecting with something soft. He didn't stop to look back. At the end of the hall, he found a door and threw himself against it, relief flooding him when he heard the lock give way and the door swung open. He stumbled out onto a staircase and ran blindly upwards, his lungs burning, muscles screaming in protest. But the scratching followed him. Scratching, scratching, accompanied by the whispering, which now sounded like screams in his ear. "Alex, Alex, Alex!" When he finally reached the top of the stairs and turned, his heart nearly exploded in his chest. He found himself back in the same room with the pictures on the walls, the one he'd come through before. And in the corner, the ancient clock ticked backwards, its pendulum swinging with unnatural slowness. The scratching stopped. Silence descended, heavy and suffocating. The room seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, the air thick and poisonous. Alex backed away, bumping into the wall. Trapped, he could feel the malevolent intelligence of the house pressing against him. "It's cold!" Clammy touch, seeping through his clothes, chilling him to the bone. Then he noticed something. The door he'd entered through was gone, replaced by cold stone. Panic seized him. He lunged for another door, flinging it open, but it led to the same suffocating room. He tried again and again, but every door led him back to the same place. The floor creaked beneath his feet. The air grew colder. A draft snaked around his ankles, tugging at his shoelaces. From the corner of his eye, he saw the shadows twist and writhe, taking on long, sinuous shapes that reached out toward him like grasping claws. He stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The room swayed, tilting on its axis. The walls pulsed with an unnatural light, bathing everything in an eerie glow. He could feel the presence behind him, watching, waiting, its hunger palpable. The whispers rose again, slithering into his ear, coiling around his thoughts. "You can't escape!" they hissed. "You're trapped here now. You're ours." The air grew colder, so cold that Alex could see his breath. He spun around, seeking an escape, but the doors had vanished, leaving only solid stone where once there had been passage. He pounded against the wall, his fists connecting with cold, unyielding flesh. Struggling for purchase, he clawed at the rough surface, digging his nails into the wood. The malevolent presence brushed against his cheek, sending shivers down his spine. He cried out, scrambling backward. And then he saw it. The door. It stood ajar, beckoning him toward freedom. Hope surged through him. He lunged for it, bursting through into the hallway beyond. He ran blindly, stumbling over debris, not daring to look back. At last, he saw it, the entrance. He burst out into the rain, gasping for breath, his body trembling. He had escaped the clutches of the house, or so he thought, for as he turned to look back, he saw the door had reformed, sealing off the room once more, and through the grimy window, he caught a final glimpse of the interior. There, nailed to the wall, frozen in an eternal tableau, were the faces of those who had entered the house before him. Their eyes burned into his memory, and in the center, amidst the scratching and whispering, stood Alex, his horrified face frozen forever, beside the others who had entered before him. Outside, the storm began to fade. The wind died down. The rain softened to a gentle drizzle. The house stood silent once more, basking in the eerie calm, waiting patiently for its next victim to stumble through its door. And the village waited in fear, knowing that the curse had claimed another soul. Thank you for watching!